KFI AM 640.
He is an independent researcher, radio host, filmmaker. He's also a musician, a graphic artist and designer, a video editor who also co-produces Red Ice TV, which highlights subject matters covered on the radio program. And he is with us tonight from Sweden. Henrik Palmgren, come most presently upon your hour, sir, and welcome to Coast to Coast.
Well, thank you so much, John. It's an honor to be with you. I mean, I've listened to a lot of Coast programs over the years, so this is a lot of fun for me. Thank you for inviting me, first of all.
Well, you know, I've looked at your websites, of course. That's redicecreations.com and also Henrik Palmgren. And for the audience, that's HenrikPalmgren, Henrik Palmgren. And listen to the radio program. And the subject, I was really surprised when I saw these wonderful graphic designs, and then I heard the material on your radio program. I just thought, oh, we've got to talk to him.
Well, that's cool. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Well, so, you know, the thing that's really pretty much top of mind with so many Coast listeners and others, those who dare to think about it because they see it, and if they don't see it, they sense it, is this New World Order thing. It's obviously a real thing. I've wondered if maybe we're not creating it ourselves with that, as Ian likes to say, the operator-generator thing. But it appears to be a tangible thing. It appears to be a genuine, if not conspiracy, then certainly an organized movement, just to get away from the C word for a minute. If we allow it to go all the way to its implementation, how will it look to us, and what about our dystopian future?
Yeah, really good question, John. Something I've been thinking about for a long time. You know, if the nightmare is allowed to unfold, you know, how will it actually look when it's implemented in a sense? I mean, I hope that we never go that far. But the fact, I believe, is that if we look at different parts of the world, we can see different components of the New World Order already being implemented. Obviously, tonight, I hope we can get a little time to talk about the Swedish side to all of this. This is something, obviously, that I've been looking into recently and you know, not really planned or anything like that. This is more something that has slowly kind of developed on its own as I've been, you know, I'm born here, living here for 33 years now, and just observing my surrounding. I can see different elements of it, and it's really strong in certain areas here. But there are other examples in other parts of the world. Obviously, from an American perspective, we can see the technological progression. We can see the war industry, in a sense, being developed there. If we look at places like Australia and New Zealand, we can see that they are banning, you know, natural health products. They're banning herbs. They're even...
Oh, dear. Let's just get him back on the line. Because, technical difficulties. I'm not going to suggest it was, well, he's coming to us from Sweden. These things happen. It's a little bit risky when you do something like this. Okay, Hendrik's back. Hendrik is back.
John?
Yes. I was afraid the New World Order had pulled your plug, brother.
Is someone shutting us off here? It's always
wouldn't surprise me. I've been getting the color wheel on my computer for days now.
Yeah, I know.
I get a little message that says your updates are ready to be installed, but unfortunately it doesn't happen on any of the computers in the whole apparatus except for mine. And then when I didn't install the updates and said, no, do it later, well, then it just started getting hot, and I just got the wheel all the time. It began deleting websites I was looking at and everything else. So let's carry on where we were.
Well, but this is actually a pretty good example of what we're potentially looking at if we're talking about, you know, a centralized system which is completely operated by computers or maybe even an artificial intelligence. We're at, you know, the mercy of this beast, this machine, in a sense, that we are building. And I always come to this from a pretty sinister point of view, in a sense, because I always wonder, you know, who's writing the program, or who controls this AI or this machine that we are building, in a sense. And what if that is the component that we've been kind of looking at for so many years when we talk about depopulation and things like that. That from our perspective, from the general people's perspective, what if we're looking at a future scenario where the robot, the machine, the AI is turning on mankind? We've been programmed in a sense with this perspective from so many movies out there, Terminator, The Matrix, Battlestar Galactica. There's just a slew of these out there. And what if that is the component that we're actually looking at for a future scenario, and this is going to be the elite's depopulation program, when these, we already see now these drones being turned towards mankind in a sense. Little testing ground has been happening in the last few years, and the development in this area is just enormous. What DARPA is putting out, what MIT is putting out, and some of the other university groups in Boston and stuff like that. Really creepy stuff if you look at it. So, we're at the mercy, in a sense, to this beast that is being built up. And my question is, again, who's controlling this? Who is actually programming? Who's putting in the language into these machines and so forth? So we're kind of back to that situation of a centralized system controlling everything. So we can be, shut down very easily. Our bank accounts can be frozen, and we can't make a move because we're in a cashless society. There's so many elements of worry here. I think people have this tendency to maybe think that the government that are in place currently, I don't think so, but maybe general people out there on the street in a sense think it's pretty okay as things are right now. But what if things change on that front in a couple of years, or even less in a sense, or longer? What if we get someone or a group of people in power who have more sinister plans for mankind? What if they are at the disposal then to turn this machine on mankind? See, all these questions are worry elements that we should think about when we're kind of building our own prison cell in a sense around us all the time, and this incredible network of surveillance cameras, of haptic devices that even they're developing these floor tiles in a sense now as well that can even feel the biometric or signature of your particular imprint as you walk over them, or you lay your hand on the side of the wall and it can read your fingerprints, things like that. Meaning we're kind of building an all-seeing, all-knowing entity in a sense. It's almost like we're rebuilding that concept that mankind has had for such a long time of a god in a sense. It's really, really worrying, that element. But just to get back to this idea of centralization again and the scientific dictatorship and all this, again, how will the New World Order look if it actually is implemented? We hear all the time, of course, mainly, I think, of how it looks in the United States. I think we have a majority of people, researchers, studying the conspiracy, if you will, that come to this from an American perspective. So we hear a lot about that. But how is it in a country like Sweden? As I try to get to here many times and explain, on my show and to other people that I talk to, that the New World Order isn't going to come to Sweden. It's already here. It's actually firmly in place. I believe that if people took the time to look at a society like this, they would actually see how it have manifested itself in a sense. And I can see that potentially the rest of the world is going through a change right now that we did here 70 years ago, something like that, when a system was put in place which is all about control, in a sense. It's all about uprooting the human being in its natural environment, in a sense, and kind of putting him in a different one that is approved, and stamped and ready-made by the government for the plebes, in a sense. And this is some of the points that we can kind of get to later. But obviously we can discuss, in a sense, why this is important at all. I think America is at a crossroads right now, and hence we're kind of in a situation where things might be reformed. I personally, my research comes down to looking at, the banking faction of the world and how they work in cahoots with this. Everyone has different names for them, of course, but I like to kind of call them Fabian socialists in a sense. It's international socialists that are kind of used, in a sense, also even the capitalist model of privatizing everything. It's a corporatism kind of scenario, or fascist, actually, in the true sense of the word. And that's also what we have here in Sweden, and we'll kind of get to that a little bit later, I hope so. But this process, I think, of changing things, unfortunately, I think we're seeing it in America right now. And the reason I think that this discussion is important is to see how they're kind of constantly seeking to use events that happen or things that they might even themselves have planned. If we look at the economic situation with the scandals that are happening in the last 2 years now, since 2008 unfolding, I mean, I believe it's planned. I mean, it's almost like this gambling that has happened with people's money and the world's money, in a sense, has been allowed. I mean,
well, now let's make it clear to our audience. According to what I'm reading here, the Fabian Society. It's the British socialist movement whose purpose is to advance the principles of democratic socialism via gradualist and reformist rather than revolutionary means. So
yes.
In other words, it's insidious. It creeps in slowly.
Yes, exactly. And that's the important point, because what that means is that people won't be able to see it right away. So what we're talking about is not, militarized police walking down the street to do the takeover, that some people are kind of waiting for, in a sense. This is just using the opportunity when it arrives, or slowly create the opportunity that you need to reform society slowly, towards your goal or their goal in that sense. And that's why this is so dangerous, because it's not evident, it's not overt. You can't see it right away. So if we again tie it back to the banking situation, now we see the Occupy movement on the street, and whether we agree with that or not, I think we need to be careful about the choices that we make at this crossroads, in a sense. This goes for the whole world, I believe. A lot of things are on one hand worrying about the Occupy movement, but at the same time it's good to see that it's a drive there, a will there, an incentive to try to change something. So I see that the energy is right. The energy is good from the point of view that we can't have it like this anymore. We have to change something. Something has to, give in one way. But again, what if the solutions, if you will, then to this problem that they potentially might have created to begin with is going to be something which is going to be even more beneficial to them? And
now, in Sweden, you have a little... Oh, sorry. Finish that sentence. I want to ask you something.
Yeah, no. It's actually really, it's kind of complete there in a sense. It's just about that they're using that that situation to advance their own agenda. And again, that's why it's so dangerous. And we have to be careful about the choices we make.
Now, Sweden has a little over 9 million people. Is that correct?
That's about right. Yeah. So it's not a lot of people. It's in that sense more easily controlled. But that's why I think it's been a testing ground as well, because it's been fairly, isolated up on the Scandinavian peninsula. The population is not that large, but still large enough to do, massive experiments, in a sense, on them socially and economically.